Hey everybody, welcome into the New England Ski Journal Basecamp podcast, sponsored by Country Ski and Sport. I'm Mike Speech, your host, with my co-host,
Keith Pearson.
Mr. Keith Pearson.
Mm-hmm.
How's the New England Ski Journal coming?
It's good. I've been busy the past week.
Deadlines.
And I am the I don't want to say king of procrastinators, but I'm among the best of them.
I don't know. You've been skiing too much, I hear. I didn't say that.
Guilty. I was out in the Berkshires. I skied butternut. I skied catamount, which I was really impressed with.
Steep, isn't it?
You know what? That top half is steep. It's fun.
It's steep.
I did Jiminy. Unfortunately, little icing issues. You know, icing from the sky shut the six down just before I got going, so that put a little damper on things. And
did you get to Bosque?
I did.
Bosque is kind of...
Yeah, I did.
That's so much history.
I did butternut and Bosque. I split that up into a day, and then I tackled Loon on President's Day weekend, and I could not believe it was almost country clubbish.
Really?
Yeah. The idea of passes being blacked out, that's a real thing.
Oh, yeah. That changes everything.
The problem was there are people still treating it like it's the expressway, and they're right on your tail.
Yep. And
I totally understand why you...
That's why I ski midweek.
only ski midweek, even at smaller play, you truly ski Monday through Friday, and I am sorry to turn you down on Tuesday.
Yeah, well, I invited you to Cannon, and you turned me down.
And I said I had to be...
Deadlines.
And I still have deadline issues.
Well, guess what? So do I, but my orders are coming in. I'm all good.
Good move.
So, well, we just had an interview, Keith. Just had an interview that was energized, fun, took Tenney Mountain to a new level, because we did Tenney last year as they came back online before you were here with me, and it was good, but it wasn't directed, or I didn't come out of it going, damn, Tenney is back, and Tenney is really back. I mean, you've got a mountain that was up and down, wasn't completely, we couldn't figure out where it was going, if it would ever come back. You've got a mountain now that is on a mission on all fronts. And add to that, in 2 weeks, they've got the World Ski Pro Tour coming.
There is such a huge difference between year 1 and 2.
Oh.
For any position, trust me, as year 1 of the magazine editor, you're just trying to get through the day-to-day. I can say that firsthand. And, the big plans that you might have, well, you can't implement them right away. They're down the road, and hopefully they're in year 2. And you build off of that. You see it from them. Like, Steve's got a plan. He took inventory of what he had, and now he's trying to implement it. And he's finding out, it's not always smooth sailing, as we'll find out with the Hornet. And they have a plan, and they're committed to it. So it might not be as smooth as they want it to be, but the idea is that they'll get there. And now they have a chance to show people what they've been up to with the tour coming.
Well, Stephen has a plan, and he has Michael, who is helping to implement or guide that plan. It takes a team on the same page, going in the same direction to make it all happen. And like I said, now with the accumulation of the World Pro Tour coming here, this is exciting exciting stuff. And the interview blew me away because we could have went an hour and a half on this one, folks. It was that good. So we're going to stop talking right now because you don't want to hear from Keith and I. We're gonna go up to Steve and Michael up at Tenney Mountain, and they're going to give you what's going on up there. And that's the important part.
And they dropped some good news in there.
They dropped some great news in there.
Some big news.
So news that made me happy. I started clapping just so y'all know. So we'll be right back after this message from our sponsors with Steve and Michael from Tenney Mountain.
From skis and snowboards to accessories, apparel, and a full spectrum of winter sports essentials, Country Ski and Sport is proud to offer one of the most diverse selections of superior quality products from the industry's most esteemed brands. Book your custom boot and ski fitting appointment online for a shopping experience tailored for your ski or snowboarding needs. Chat with our experts in store and make the most of your winter experience. If you already own equipment, don't forget to drop it off for a tune-up and get your skis or board back into shape before you hit the slopes. Visit us online at countryski.com or at our locations in Quincy, Westwood, or Hanson. Before you hit the mountain, make sure to hit Country Ski and Sport.
Discover what you've been missing when you visit Burke Mountain, the last little corner of Vermont. Located only 7 miles off Interstate 91, the slopes are closer than you think. Take advantage of their incredible midweek deals like $45 Monday through Friday lift tickets or Wicked Wednesdays where 3 people can ski or ride for the price of 1. That's right. You and 2 of your friends can ski and ride for just $15 a piece every Wednesday, non-holiday. Incredible. To learn more, book your overnight stay at the Ski In, Ski Out Burke Mountain Hotel or purchase lift tickets. Visit skiburke.com.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, into the Basecamp podcast. Now joining us from Tenney Mountain, New Hampshire, Stephen Kelly, the new owner, 2 years now, I believe it is, and Michael Van Eyck, the general manager. How you doing, guys?
Doing well, man. Doing well.
Great.
Oh, fantastic. Well, we're glad to have you on because there's a huge event coming on up there that we're going to be talking about in just 2 weeks. But first, Steve, I wanted to know, this is year number 2 at Tenney for you. How is it going up there?
You know, it's really going great. It's we knew that Tenney would be a journey in this first, a second, full season. But it's our first one since we put our new snowmaking system in, and it's really been tremendous. Our team's done an awesome job of, getting the mountain ready, and it's been a great season, man. It really is. It's for year 2. I couldn't be happier.
So you brought up snowmaking. It's without snowmaking, New England doesn't happen. What did you guys do up there with the snowmaking?
Yeah, it's interesting. As a builder, when I first bought the mountain, of course, I wanted to build a new lodge and build all these sexy buildings. And the more I started to look at it, I said, well, lodge is good enough. We put some money into it, made it look nice, but it's built a new bar and everything. But really, I started pivoting my focus to the lifts, and I started thinking, well, if we have the best lodge and the best lifts and no snow, people won't come. So really, my evolution of just understanding the industry led me to the snowmaking, and so we really spent a better part of a year designing, assessing existing, and then designing the new system. And we put all new state of the art electric pumps, motors, drives, VFDs. We built, renovated the main pump house, and we built the first 2 pumps went in of what will eventually be a 5-pump system there. And then up at mid-mount, we actually built a mid-mountain booster pump house. Building, I call it pump house, but building, and that's got 2 of 3. It's the one future expansion, but we put 2 new pumps there. And what that really does, it allows us to get water to the top of the mountain, which is pretty dramatic and dynamic now. So we added about 5 miles of new pipe. We fixed a lot of the old pipe. We added another 125 new guns, HKDs. They're beautiful. And I bought 80 before, and we actually couldn't deploy the 80 once I realized the limitations we had with the existing snowmaking system. So the reality is now we've got over 200 new guns with now probably about 65% coverage on the mountain with pipe that's actually intact with pumps that can run. And obviously our plan is to eventually get to 100%, but It's pretty dynamic difference from just really 2 years. You know, we took over the pipe while probably maybe 50% of the mountain was piped. It really wasn't working because there was so many breaks in the pipe, and a lot of the underground pipe had to be replaced, virtually all of it. So now that we have that much pipe on the mountain that actually is working, we can deploy guns. It's pretty dramatic what we'll be able to do from a snowmaking perspective.
Well, as a retired firefighter here, you know, pumps are what it's all about. It's how we get water on the fire. It's how you get water on the hill. What do you see for this coming year? Is that still going to be an emphasis, trying to get more piping up the hill?
You know, it's a constant juggling of priorities. You know, we're working on in the bigger picture. You know, a really important part of the greater Tenney development is expansion, real estate development, expansion of terrain. So water is actually the most critical resource. We have to look at it from a snowmaking standpoint, a potable standpoint, and in a wastewater standpoint. How are we going to manage all of those different elements of water? So we've been studying it for about 2 years with environmental engineers, working with DES, trying to figure out where we can add retention ponds. So we have the first one we're going for permit for right now, and it's took us the better part of that 2-year plan to really understand all of the wetlands, where it can go, where it can't go, and where we can get water sources. So that new pond will be close to 20 million gallons, and that's going to be pretty dynamic. Now we can start to deploy a lot more snow in the future. So as we start to look to next year, we're looking at adding water capacity to deploy more snow and guns. But we're also looking at, looking at the lifts and saying, our older lift, the double is, we call it the Hornet, is, it's a really cool piece of history, but it might be getting ready for the Smithsonian. It's got a lot of challenges, and those parts and pieces that we need aren't necessarily on the shelf anywhere. They've got to be built, machined, and so that's one of our challenges is just dealing with the aging infrastructure of the mountain. But it's something that we certainly inherited. We didn't create it. We've done a really good job of rebuilding the Hornet. Like we rebuilt the towers, the chairs, the both terminals. But we're having an issue right now with the gearbox, which we're in process of. We've got a new one coming in that will be replacing the gearbox on it. But the reality is, we have to look at longer term sustainability of the mountain with that. And Michael and I have been working very closely with some of the the lift manufacturers to see what maybe a 4-pack would look like over there, and when we can get it in, whether it's this year or next year. So I think the bigger priority will probably be putting a lift in, and then in parallel with that, hopefully working on the expansion of the water for the snowmaking system. So pretty soon, Tenney will have a high speed quad in 21 million gallons of water put on that hill, which would be pretty. It's really going to make it a different mountain. It's going to be night and day from what Tenney is today and has been and was.
Well, that's the recipe for success all the way around. I must ask you, what has the response been from the community to Tenney being back up and running the way it is?
It's honestly, it's been awesome, man. I can't say it blew me away because I realized a lot of people love Tenney when I bought the mountain. There's always a passion for it. I met so many people that grew up skiing there, whether it's they're the grandparents who grew up skiing in the 60s and 70s, or they're the parents who grew up in the 80s and the 90s. And, it's just, there's a lot of love for Tenney. It's a great hill, as you know. It's got a lot of really interesting terrain. So the community's really been very supportive. And honestly, I'm getting feedback. Like, people are comparing us. Like, we some of the things we did this year, not just the critical part of the snowmaking was the trail expansion. I want to touch on that for a sec, because what we actually did is we looked at when the mountain was first, founded. Sam Hall and John French, they're 10th Mountain guys. They're good skiers, but also Army Corps engineers, good engineers. It was really designed very well, but the trails had largely been overgrown the last 30 years. So one, we cut is more probably 80% of the trails back. We plan to finish the rest of that this year to what were the original 1960s growth trees. That does two things. It puts us back to the original trail design, but it also allows us to put the snowmaking pipe where it needs to go, which is up against that side. But we also did, we cleared out about 30 acres of glades up at the top above the eclipse, so people know the mountain. And we actually created 10 more acres of glades over on the side of the Hornet, which never existed. So the glades being wide open, people like really raving about them. Literally, one skier compared us to Killington, who was obviously very successful and to even be compared to Killington, I take that as a badge of honor. But said our glades are better than, best in the East is what the guy told me, and he's a former pro skier, and he goes better. I go better than Killington because I hear Killington's like got some of the best glades around. He goes, I'm telling you, you get the best glades in the East, and I just take that as a huge compliment to how far we've come in a relatively short time.
Steve, how difficult is it to, you're getting into this business 2 years in, and each step forward you take, you have one step back, like the Hornet right now. How do you push through this and keep going?
Well, it starts when I was a kid. I played hockey, and if you couldn't skate backwards, you're in trouble, right? So, I've skated forwards and backwards. And it's the same thing as in business, man.
Mhm.
You take on. It's no different than renovating an old building. You have a lot of progress, but you have to sometimes go backwards to fix things structurally in a building. It's the same with the you have to fix the infrastructure. So I was realistic going into it. I knew the first 5 years were honestly be the toughest.
Yep.
One from my own, just from a business perspective, I had to learn the industry. I didn't come from the industry, as you guys both know. That's why Mike's been such a dramatic addition to my team, bringing that depth of knowledge to Tenney Mountain. But really, doing the engineering, doing all the tough work in the field, getting the mountain back to where it's going to be in pristine condition to then grow. It's like a foundation, right? Your infrastructure is your foundation. You have to build a foundation and start there, and then we start to go vertical with it. And I use that analogy for buildings. Your buildings are only as good as your foundation, right? So for the mountain, it's the infrastructure. You have to get the infrastructure dialed in and right. Then we start to grow the ecosystem, and that's really what we're doing. And look, is it hard work? Is it a challenge? Of course it is, man. I knew that going into it. This is not for the meek, and it's not a short-term plan. You just have to be patient. Sometimes when you go really fast and you work really hard, you're in the trenches and you lose sight of maybe all the progress you've made. Because you're just working so damn hard trying to get so much done. We had a lot of challenges this off season, and we had 4 different buildings under construction, and we're jamming right up to the opening. But when you take a step back and go, wow, it's only been 2.5 years, and look how far we've come, and the progress, and seeing just the vibe and the hype at the lodge, man. People are so happy. So many people are just like, a lot of people come up to me, tell me, thank me, and they're happy. But I look around and I just see nothing but joy, from the older folks to the mid age to the young kids. It's just a lot of smiles, and it's something my wife always says. She goes, just amazing how happy the ski community is. So I take a lot of pride in what we're bringing to the community, and all the challenges that we have. The community doesn't see them all, and nor should they. I know what they are, but we're realistic. Every year we're going to make improvements, and every 3 to 5 years we look back on, holy shit, look how far we've come and how dramatically different it is. And it's been an awesome ride, man. It's not easy, but nothing in life worth having is easy. It's my businesses weren't easy to get off the ground and get to where they are now, with it both in that best in class realm. That's a really hard run too. So business is never easy, no matter what sector you're in.
Michael, let's bring you in. You're the new
Sure.
guy.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about what your background is and what made coming over to Tenney a worthwhile effort for you?
Sure. Yeah, that's a big question with many decades of history there. So I'll try to give you the cliff notes.
There you go.
But I came into the ski industry, like so many in this business, with a hope that finding a career, doing what we love, was possible. And on a wing and a prayer, I took an interview at Bromley Mountain in Vermont when I was probably just out of college, kind of willing to do anything. Ended up in the marketing department there, and that almost didn't matter what department you were in, right? It's a small organization, a small business, and really you just had to kind of dive into every aspect of the work that we did. I look back on it, and I think that 2 things really, really helped me. And that was the fact that the business was so small gave me insight into everything that we did, whether it be finance or HR or operations or marketing or general management. I kind of got a taste of all of it. And that was really what kind of sparked my brain in the beginning. What kept me really engaged and intrigued in the ski business was the fact that it was varied every day. And I got insight into all aspects of what we did, how to grow this business, make it thrive, how to support a community that loved the mountain. And believe me, Bromley was and is beloved by its community. And then second to that was I walked into a group of individuals. I'll name some of them: Peter D., Bill Carnes, John Cuman, these mentors that Brian and Tyler Fairbank, these mentors that were willing to, as their careers moved on, share with me what it was, what made this business tick, and why it was so special, and why it was so hard and so complicated. And I got a vision over time of what it meant to kind of dedicate your career, your life to this business. And I couldn't stop. It became a real passion of mine. And so when the opportunity at Tenney finally presented itself to me, I looked at it. Number one, I looked at it in terms of potential. You really can't make a go of this business if the mountain itself doesn't have what it takes to make a mark on the industry. And I looked at Tenney with its acreage, 150 skiable acres with a future expansion in the works, 1,500 feet of vert roughly, and some really cool steeps and glades, and really challenging yet accessible terrain. I looked at that and just said, boy, we have a mountain here that makes some sense in terms of growth over time. And if we prime this pump and we get this engine running, I think we're going to be busier than we know what to do with. We're going to have the best problem of all, and that is too many people at the mountain. So that was kind of number one for me, was the potential of the hill. Number two was, honestly, with Stephen, it's do you have ownership that are fully committed, that are willing to back a project that doesn't have a certain answer, or at least doesn't have a totally clear path, but we understand where it is we want to go together. And we're gonna drive as hard as we can to get there, understanding that this business is not easy. It is not a straight line, and we will find a way through it. And Stephen and I got along instantly. We kind of vibrate, I think, on the same frequency. And that was refreshing to me, something I was looking for in the business. And Stephen understood both the time, the capital, the energy requirements to get Tenney where it needs to be. Stephen said it before I said it. So Stephen is great. His team from Canton is wonderful in terms of understanding how big this project is. But everybody's all in. Everybody's ready to go. Finally, I say this all the time, and I really mean it. It's the people. And I love the ski business because of the challenges, but what keeps me doing this is really the crew, the people, the challenges of a work environment that has so many different pieces and parts, so many different people that are critical to making the place run every day. And then, oh, by the way, you also have to have a team around you that is willing to expand this business and push it forward. So this is a really, really difficult place to be, the ski industry. And you got to have a team around you that understands that we're going to take some licks, but we just got to keep pushing. We got to keep moving towards the long-term goal. And from the moment I stepped on the grounds at Tenney, I realized that the people there were insanely devoted. The general public only wants us to win. And you don't feel that everywhere. I've worked at enough places to understand that you don't always have broad community support. You don't always have a staff that is engaged and vibrant and energetic every day. And I noticed at Tenney that everybody was locked in the moment I walked in. Like, boy, you're the new GM. Like, let's go. And I couldn't help but take the job, to be honest.
Well, that's fantastic. I think knowing Brian Fairbanks and the Fairbanks Group and Tyler, the similarities between their three resorts and Tenney are very similar, hill size, everything else. I just think your background will just move Tenney at another level, which is great. I'm glad to have you on board up there.
Oh, well, thanks so much. I mean, I think the size of the hill is something that when I was younger, I probably looked at as maybe a challenge for us or a hurdle to overcome. I'm now seeing, especially with like the sort of the recent resurgence of independent and small and medium-sized ski resorts, that there is a hole in this market. There is a gap in this market that I and Steven and the team will take Tenney through and find a way to enhance and highlight the brand and enhance and highlight the experience. And we're going to fit in really nicely, I think, amongst our bigger competitors. I don't look at that the same way anymore. And I understand, sort of coming from Bromley, Jiminy, Cranmore, that what you need is broad community support, the understanding that this is a vital part of sort of a family, a local family, and that with proper integration into the community and understanding that we all thrive off of one another, that this mountain can be just as enjoyed as some of those bigger competitors.
Well, you just brought up the bigger resorts. Stephen, you have an event coming on March 14th through the 16th. The only other event of its type this year is at this little tiny hill called Aspen. The World Pro Ski Tour is coming. How did this come about? How did it end up at Tenney?
Well, that's an interesting question, and I'm gonna start by saying this. So I told people that 2.5 years ago, Tenney Mountain, Plymouth, New Hampshire, we the talk of Aspen, Colorado. People be questioning my how much I've been drinking. When I was out there the weekend of January 11th, by Sunday, people, I was on the Jumbotron a few times being interviewed, so people got to know me. And I was also interviewed a couple other times. So by Sunday, people like, we're coming to Tenney Mountain. And I'm talking to the mayor of Aspen. I'm talking about some very successful, Hall of Fame skiers who now reside in Aspen are coming out. So it highlights what the World Pro Ski Tour is going to do for, Tenney Mountain and Plymouth. The fact that we were then, the talk of Aspen, Colorado, people never would have believed that. And I bet you less than 1% if I told people in New Hampshire that Aspen, Colorado would be talking about us, they'd think I was out of my mind, right? So I got an introduction to Chris Neary, who's the new CEO of the World Pro Ski Tour. And at the time, he was just an investor, but he talked to me about his vision of the World Pro Ski Tour and how he wants to take it over and then kind of put a little bit of a new leadership team together and bring it back to where it once was, 70s, 80s, 90s. It was all over the world. It was in, Australia, New Zealand, all over, it was in all over Japan, Asia, obviously Europe, and grow it back. So I loved that vision. And to a degree, it's similar to Tenney Mountain. They're both resurrection stories, right? You're bringing something that was once great and putting some fresh, energy and talent and enthusiasm into it. So, obviously there's a big risk there because Tenney's never had it. In New Hampshire is, a giant market for skiing, but can we get people to come to Tenney Mountain for the World Pro Ski Tour? So there's a little bit of a risk there, but obviously I'm a high risk, high adrenaline guy anyways. And when I saw it, I was like, this is amazing, and I had already committed to it at that point, but really it's going to bring, to me, what is one of the coolest races in the world to Tenney. It's going to put a spotlight on us. It's going to be the beginning of the catalyst of our growth as everything else we are doing. We talked about the foundation of building a business in the beginning, but how do we differentiate ourselves from our competition is also a big thing. What Michael mentioned, we can't have 4,000 feet. I wish we could. We just don't. But what we can do is be dynamic, be different, make the best of what we can with what we have. And that's really what Tenney's going to be all about. We're going to make it a dynamic destination location. Our goal is to be the #1 destination location in New England for the ski industry. And of course, when I say that, people think that sounds crazy, but I love challenges and I love proving people wrong. And every 5 to 10 years, we're going to keep making progress. And, so getting the World Pro Ski Tour at Tenney is going to put an international spotlight on the mountain, which again is just a growth point for us. Every year we're going to host the race there, and every year we're going to continue to expand, eventually have hotels and condos and apartments. And I gave the folks at Aspen a really nice compliment, but I talked to them. I said, in 20 years we're going to be like Aspen. We're going to have all that built environment. We're going to have that live, work, play environment, the retail, the hospitality, but we're also going to anchor it around businesses. We're going to have a science and tech park up there. We hope to create about 1,000 jobs in life sciences. So really the World Pro Ski Tour gives us an international exposure that doesn't exist. Most people, I'm telling you, people in Aspen had never heard of Tenney Mountain, and some actually didn't know where the hell New Hampshire was, believe it or not.
I'm not surprised.
They weren't paying attention to their U.S. geography classes at grammar school, you know. But honestly, the getting to know Chris Neary, who's another dynamic leader. He's got multiple businesses around the world. He's been in the sports apparel industry most of his career. I saw a ton of synergies with he and I, just individually, but also what we're doing with our businesses, where we could both help each other. And so that was us just saying, let's do it. Let's do something different that other people aren't doing right now. And World Pro Ski Tour is going to just be part of our DNA as we move forward.
I think that's awesome. It's sort of like what Michael just described when you two sat down. It sounds like there was a real connection, which I think is crucial if you want to build anything.
Yeah, I think business is all about relationships, right? It doesn't matter what set you're talking about. You have to have the right relationships, and you want to surround yourself with people you're like-minded to, and that's something I believe in business. And when I first met Michael, right off the bat, like Michael mentioned, we hit it off from the very beginning, saw natural synergies, and both willing to take on the challenge. And Chris Neary falls into that world too. He's another guy who I just have a lot of respect for, who we're like-minded to. And, you put a lot of smart people together, we can accomplish anything. And that's really what we're doing, bringing the Pro Ski Tour to the Tenney is just start to build our growth and start to build out how we differentiate. And we'll be the home for pro skiing. That's in New Hampshire. That's our goal.
I think that's awesome. Stephen, you grew up in the Boston area. You probably don't remember, or maybe you do, when Neshoba Valley in the late 80s used to host the Women's Pro Tour.
So, growing up in the city, really wasn't plugged into the ski scene, to be honest with you.
That I figured you didn't know that, but did you know that Neshoba did hold the women's back then?
Yeah, I have now since learned that, but when I was a kid in the city, I did not know that then. But I know now, just studying the data on the industry, that they used to host it there. Yeah,
it's pretty amazing.
Pam Fletcher had so much to do with that.
Well, Pam, her dad, Alan, was a visionary like Stephen is right at this moment.
Michael, your job is the day-to-day aspect on the hill.
Sure.
How do you put this together, both logistically behind the scenes and on the mountain itself? Such as, which trail are you going to be used? Does the lift issue that you have now affect this at all? And then behind the scenes, how do you get ready to host, all these people who have high expectations?
Yeah, of course they do, and we're ready to meet those expectations. I feel 100% confident in that. The trail we're going to utilize is a trail called Shooting Star, and for those who know Tenney, know that trail has wonderful constant pitch. It's very New England in terms of its width, and I think it provides a really wonderful sort of insight into what New England ski racing can be. Right, it's different than Aspen, and it's different in all of the best ways. We're going to utilize from the new halfway booster pump house down, and we will fit 3 jumps on that trail. And I think, all in all, I think we're going to provide an experience that's going to be just absolutely different than a lot of other ski races, not only in America but around the world. So I'm very confident that the outcome here is going to be really, really, really positive. How do we do this? How did we approach this? Well, I mean, just like any project and any team that is brought something brand new, especially a team at Tenney that is still we're still all getting to know each other, right? But that honeymoon phase needed to end pretty quickly as we realized that this project ahead of us, the World Pro Ski Tour in particular, wasn't going to allow for a lot of getting to know you period. There was, let's get to work, right? And again, you heard me talk about people before. I'm going to talk about them again. The team at Tenney is spectacular. Mark Evans heads up a lot of our mountain operations and snowmaking, and really has been critical, he and his team, in terms of making sure that the race course is meeting their needs, and padding and safety and grooming and all of those things. He's been my right-hand guy, trying to ensure that the product we produce for the racers is exactly where it needs to be. Behind him are a host of other team members that are working on so many other aspects to make sure that the World Pro Ski Tour team, the athletes, the general public, are all catered to in a way that we're going to, at the end of this, we're going to feel really proud of. And that also, there is a team at World Pro Ski Tour that has worked with us very, very closely. Chris Neary obviously heads that team, but behind them, Kevin Clark, John Andre, there's so many of them that have assisted us and come to Tenney multiple times to try to, frankly, hold our hand and make sure that we understand how to get the race off. I feel totally confident that we know how to show people a good time, and we know how to make sure that the VIP area is as good as possible, and that the general public can view this race in a way that is really exciting and dynamic. I feel really good about that. What I wanted from the World Pro Ski Tour, what Tenney needed was, hey, let's make sure that the race course is perfect. Let's make sure that the athletes feel challenged and that we have an exciting product, not only for New Hampshire, but nationally and internationally via Fox Sports. So how do we do that? Where were we, say, 90 days ago compared to where we are today is light years. Light years. I never like to be overly confident. I always like that little bit of tension at the end to keep like, oh boy, what have we missed? What are we not ready for? I will hold that my entire life. And I think that makes somebody produce an event and a product that exceeds expectations. I still feel that, but I'm also extremely confident that we've got this. We've got this from an operational standpoint. We've got it from a support standpoint. And I think the public, the racers, World Pro Ski Tour, Tenney, we're gonna walk out of this and be so very proud of what we've done. And I think this is just the start. I'm super excited for Tenney to be the home of the World Pro Ski Tour over the next decades. And I think it will ultimately be seen as a real boon to the ski industry and certainly the economy in our local community in New Hampshire as a whole. So really thrilled to host it.
It's awesome.
How relieved were you to actually have a full winter this year as opposed to sitting around waiting for a miracle March?
Oh my gosh. You know, you have just tapped into the heart of any ski area operator. Natural snow makes our job and the opinion of us that much better, right? You can be the best operator in the world, and if you don't have natural snow, people will have something to say about how you screwed it up that year. I've been very lucky, very lucky. Again, the snowmaking system at Tenney, when I came on board, the snowmaking system was just being commissioned, and I was very confident, just even if we had a very lean snow year, that we were going to be able to produce not only for the general public but that we would be able to deliver for the World Pro Ski Tour. Very confident. This has just put us in a position where we're able to fine tune the product a bit more and spend a bit more time working on jump locations and working on grooming plans and working on parking plans. If we didn't have the snow that we had, thank God we do, we would be making snow every opportunity we had. There was absolutely no option for failure, and we would have taken every single weather window to make sure that we pulled this off. We're really lucky that we didn't have to do that.
Well, Stephen brought up Killington just a few minutes ago, and all I was thinking about as you were saying that, it's much easier in March than it is being Mike Salamano trying to make it happen for Thanksgiving.
I don't envy that position. No, we've been very lucky. We've had obviously a long, cold winter with really only the last couple of days showing any sign of spring coming. Yep. But then again, we get some cold temps coming back up, and we've been blessed with not only some natural snow, but also wonderful snowmaking temps. So the things have lined up for us really nicely.
Steve, for those of us who don't remember the World Pro Ski Tour, how does it different than the World Cup, which many of us do recognize?
Yeah, I'd say the primary difference is, well, there's actually a couple. From a spectator standpoint, it's a dual slalom, meaning they're actually racing at the same time against each other. And I can tell you when I was out in Aspen, I was blown away by just the level of competition and like just the legitimacy of it. You know, I was out there, I see the logistics. How do they build the jumps? How do they build the hill? How do they run it? You know, Aspen is very different from Tenney in terms of Ajax is straight down. You know, we actually are on a train with contours, and World Pro Ski Tour thinks guys think they're going to love Tenney even more because of that. You know, it's not just a straight shot. But the fact that they're competing against each other live, like on the hill at the same time, is a huge difference. It's so much so they look at the red and the blue tracks as actually different tracks. So they give each racer an opportunity to race on each track, so that neither has an advantage. You know, then they'll take the best combined scores. So that by itself is I think a very big difference from the World Cup, where you're really racing yourself and you're just going to see whose ultimate time is better. The fact that they're competing is really a big difference. And I talked to some of the athletes, like it really makes them, you know, they're literally looking left and right when they have to see where the hell the competition's at while they're ripping down the mountain. And one of the races out there was won by 0.003 seconds. Imagine winning a race by that much, right? So it's pretty dynamic and amazing. And then another, you know, big difference, which makes the World Pro Ski Tour, you know, such an attractive opportunity for the racers, is the racers actually get paid and paid well. And one thing that Chris Neary implemented is that the men and women are both paid in parity. You know, so basically the qualifying round will be on Friday, and you know, ultimately there'll probably be a third of the folks who are trying to don't make it. One of the best races in Canada, believe it or not, did not even make it out of the qualifying rounds on that Friday out in Aspen. And that just goes to show you how good the competition is at these races. But they actually are going to compete and get really, really good money. You know, and the downside of the ski industry is, you know, the racers don't make a lot of money unless they're sponsored, if they're an Olympic champion or something like that. But the ones who aren't don't have the opportunity to make a lot of money. And here they're all going to, anyone who makes the money rounds gets paid. It's another thing Chris implemented a change on. Not just the top three, but anybody will get a check. And if you, even if you come in last, but you made it out of the qualifying rounds, you still made it to money rounds. Those racers will get enough money to probably cover the cost of their trip and put a couple bucks in the pocket. And, you know, some of these kids are sleeping on their buddies' couches. So to be able to actually want to make, you know, $5,000, $7,000 is a big deal, you know? And so I think that's what really, you know, separates it, is the fact that it's dual slalom competing against each other, but you also have got to make some money and you know, all their hard work and effort, and seeing it live was just amazing to me. I was blown away just to, you know, being up at the top, seeing how the jump goes and how dialed in and focused the races are, to see the competition coming down, coming off the jumps, being a little bit behind. You see how they try to how to pick that up. And I was talking to some of the races, and the amount of technical stuff they were talking about with how they do with their edges and the skis was just amazing to me, just hearing that level of detail, you know. So, you know, to me, it's an awesome opportunity for people to come see a race that they don't get to see very often, you know.
What was the crowd like?
You know, it was pretty awesome. It's I'll go back to skiing. The skiers in general are pretty happy. Obviously you're in Aspen, you're in Ajax, so a lot of people are just skiing for the day. A lot of people are watching. A lot of people are pretty hyped up, and especially when the racers are coming down, they're coming to that finish zone, and then they come out, they're right there with the general public, you know. So, you know, going up, they're dialed in. They don't want to talk to you. They're in there. They're you know, like the Tom Brady had the pregame.
The zone.
These races are in the zone up of the jump, man. But when they're coming down, the race is over. They're talking, they're hanging out. They might not be racing for a little while. You know, it was just an awesome vibe, awesome environment. You know,
that's awesome. Hey, Michael, what do you think the biggest challenge is for you and your team on the hill for this event?
You know, I think let's hope the challenge is parking. You know, I know that's not necessarily on the hill, but I think that will be a challenge, because I think a lot of people are going to want to come and see this. So I think we have some logistics to work on there. And then I think, you know, dialing in, it's going to be last minute stuff. It's going to be placement of, you know, this is the first time the Tenney team has endeavored to host an event like this, right? So we have all of our fencing and all of our jump locations and all of our grooming plans. Everything is in place. It's just going to be those last minute little changes, run of show changes, Jumbotron placements. So I look at that as really just fine tuning what I expect to be a really, really, really great product. And I I like this idea. It's almost like punch list stuff. Steve was talking about the construction industry before. This is almost like before you hand over the keys and say it's good to go. You have a few things left that you kind of need to just dial in and perfect. And for me, we may not be at that point today, but by the time this shows up, it's really just going to be in the field decisions, that we need to ensure provides like the best experience possible. Obviously then you have some unknowns. We could be faced with weather we don't understand,
It's going to be sunny, beautiful, and 32.
Got it, man. If you can guarantee that, I mean, you are hired. So the weather challenges, again, we're there. We've already talked about this. We've talked about what happens in the event of inclement weather. And again, the snow depth is there. We will have the product on place to be able to make this surface as firm and racer friendly as possible. And again, we're lucky. The finish corral is so close to our base lodge, and we've made efforts to make sure that the vision out of the base lodge is really good into that finish corral. So should we be faced with inclement weather, the event at Tenney is still going to go off. It's going to be awesome, and people are going to have an outstanding time. So to me at this point, the biggest challenge is how do we tweak this from like a 9 to a 10 at the end, and that's exactly where I want to be given our proximity to the event.
That's awesome. We know the action's going to be on the hill. That's where the energy is going to be. But how is this new revamped lodge, which I absolutely love, how is this new lodge going to be an epicenter of all the excitement as well?
I mean, I think a big part of that is, again, the proximity to the finish is so key. Tenney, again, it's really unique. We can condense a lot of bodies in there around the bar. We'll have a VIP area set up. And I think we're going to create a sense of energy and sort of home base in that base lodge, again, with views right out to the finish corral, a giant Jumbotron letting people know what's happening. And then we plan to stream it live, going on all of the monitors within the base lodge. So people can stay really connected to what's happening on the hill. And I think as long as we make sure that the people inside don't feel out of the action, that, there are some people that would prefer to enjoy this race bellied up to the bar. And we look at that, that's fine. Do that. There's going to be some VIPs in a segmented VIP area in the base lodge. I want all of them to feel like, hey, if they don't want to be on the hill, they can still see the action from everywhere they go, everywhere they turn. The food is great. The drinks are great. So I think we're going to create a wonderful vibe in that base lodge. And we may end up struggling getting people out onto the hill, but I hope not. I think we're going to have a really nice mix between, sort of the general public watching from the finish corral, and then a bunch of folks in the base lodge that feel like they are just one step away from the action, which I think was the intent all along.
Well, I can tell you, Stephen, I know the base lodge was very important to you, getting it built out. I so enjoy being in there. The bar is awesome. The fireplace, sitting on a couch in front of the fireplace, is pretty damn cool. Stephen, I think I had this question for you, and I think you've already answered it. Are you still as excited about this journey at Tenney as you were from day one?
Yeah, 100%, man. It's I didn't go into it with false delusions of grandeur. I knew it was gonna be a lot of hard work, and we just have to try to make progress every year. It's all about team building. You go back again, Michael's a critical component to our success. I needed someone that could be my right hand, who not only understands the industry, but understands business, because what we're doing at Tenney is much bigger than just the current, mountain. And Michael's been a critical part to that. Our team, as we're starting to assemble it, is really solid, so starting to build a team. So business is about team building. And again, the first couple of years are always, it's a challenge, man. So we're making progress, still as bullish as I was when I bought it. I had these big lofty plans, and we're making progress in that. It's we've done a lot. I mean, I didn't even mention this earlier, but we just put a tow rope in on the terrain park, put a bunch of new what do you call those things, jumps and stuff on the terrain park. and it's gonna be lit, so not kids can now people
That's awesome.
come run the train park at night. Next year we're looking at again possible replacement of the Hornet either this year or next. Expanding the snowmaking, but also potentially lighting up the Eclipse side. So now also we'll bring night skiing back to the community. So there's a lot of stuff that we're working on, and then in the bigger picture, our master plan is evolving. Like we have meetings every week with consultants on the master planning outside of just bringing Tenney back, but what's happening in the greater part of the business plan, and that's starting to come to fruition. So we'll be able to start to post on our website soon, a 2030 plan, a 2035 plan, and people start to see like what Tenney is really going to be like in the future. And I think that's going to really get some big buzz because people probably don't truly understand, nor should they, because we haven't put it out there yet. But when they start to see the vision and the plan and what it's going to be like in that future built environment, I just think it's going to be, continue to grow the momentum for us. So I'm still just as excited. My wife is probably doesn't love my work schedule. I work 7 days a week, but I've always worked that way. So it's just juggling more businesses, but it's I'm super bullish. I still believe everything I said back then. We're the first mountain to the White Mountain Range. People got to drive from whether it be Boston, Salem, Portsmouth, Nashville, Manchester, past us. And until we give them a compelling reason to stop at, exit 26, that's on us to give them that reason. But once we start building out that ecosystem and monetizing the mountain and really making it pretty dynamic, we're going to really start to put our stamp on who Tenney is now and going to be in the future. A once loved and respected hill is going to become a 4-season resort that has job creation and housing components linked to it, which are two most important metrics in economic development. And when we do that, it's going to then, really make Tenney sustainable for the future well after I'm gone. And that's to me what's most important is building an ecosystem that's sustainable on its own so that it never happens again. You see what goes around the country when these old hills go out of business. Tenney was one, Black Mountain is another, Burke's been struggling, and they're great mountains. And there's a lot of them out west too, that just for one reason or another, it's a capital intense industry. And as Michael said, it's not easy. So you need people with grit and know how to hustle and work hard and build a good culture. And, we're doing all those things. So I'm still just as bullish on Tenney as I was then. I'm just 2.5 years into my first 5 years, which I know be the most challenging part of it,
Yeah, you're an old salty ski industry guy now already.
Exactly.
I love it.
So I've learned a lot. Life is a powerful teacher, and I'm always learning. And we're going to apply everything we learn to the mountain. And our goal is to make Tenney the best it can be, and that's what we're going to do.
That's great. Steve, you guys have already put passes on for next year. Anything else that people can kind of get ready for, and how much are they going to be?
Michael, should we put out the big announcement after yesterday's call?
I think you probably should, Steve. I would do it. So
we one big thing that's going to be announced on March 1st is we're going to be joining the IndyPass program. Talking to Eric Logan. It was something we worked on last year. It didn't come to fruition for a variety of reasons, but we worked everything out, and it's going to be announced March 1st, which is going to be I think a big win for Tenney. It's going to bring a lot of skiers who have never skied the mountain before, and some people just have a perception, it's I'll send my kids up there to learn. No, you don't send your kids up there to learn unless they know how to ski. So it's going to expose the mountain to a lot of people who love the ski industry. And I think it's just going to help with our revitalization, and that's going to coincide. I think boost our season ticket passes, as will when we post our 2030 plan to let people know we have been. We're taking some hits on social media with the water being down right now. It's just life, man. That's going to happen, right? We're doing the best we can. People probably don't understand how hard it is to work on these old lifts, and we're searching the whole world for the parts. We fortunately found a couple pieces, and we're going to make it get it back up and running. But I think our season ticket pass program will really start to boom as we make all these little, not even little, substantial, really, moves. When we get a new lift, expand the snowmaking, everything we talked about today, it's going to keep growing. So I think we'll see a big bump in season ticket passes for next year, I think IndyPass will certainly bring a lot of attention to the mountain. So it's we're very positive. I think it's we at 450 on the season ticket pass, Michael.
Yeah, it starts at 450 for adults.
That's awesome.
So again, it's something like different from the the bigs, the Veals and the Alteras. It's not knocking them. They've done a tremendous job in the ski industry. They're driven by CFOs and bottom line. Like, we always want to be conscious that we want to be a family friendly mountain. So as capital intense as it is for us, it's a long term plan. We're not looking to make all that money back. It's eventually we have to. Obviously, it's a major program that we're putting in there. We always want to be focused on the family and keep it affordable as we can.
Michael, I'll wrap up with talking about the 2 weeks away with the tour coming. How can people get involved, as spectators, and anything local that people should know about the event?
I think in general, and then I'll pass it off to Steve to go over kind of like the run of show and the event schedule. But yeah, I mean, spectators can view this event for free. There is no charge there. We're also selling a 3-day pass on the website at Tenney.com, skitenney.com, that is, for $120 for the 3 days. So $40 per day gets you some skiing over on the Eclipse side. Plus you can enjoy, obviously, the World Pro Ski Tour. I think in general, this is something where I just encourage people, whether they understand what ski racing is or not, this is a chance for people to come out, see world-class athletes in an environment that they just don't visit that often. This is extremely unique, not just to Tenney, but to the Northeast in general. And I would encourage families that are out there, tell your friends, tell them that this is something really, really, really special. I liken it to, having an NBA team show up and decide to scrimmage, at Plymouth State University. I mean, how cool would that be to be able to go there, check these people out for free, and kind of understand what it means to be a professional athlete? This is on par with that. And I can't stress that enough, that this event is going to be dynamic, fun to watch, exciting, and it appeals to people that are outside of just skiers. So, I really hope that the message gets out. People understand that, this is accessible for all of us, and it's really good for the community, the local community, and the broader community at large. And come to Tenney, check the race out, 14th, 15th, and 16th. And I'll let Steve kind of talk a little bit about like what the exact kind of schedule is throughout the weekend.
All right, Steve, go ahead. Give us that schedule.
Yeah, so I mean, the races generally start showing up like midweek, and they want to ski the hill a couple times, get used to it. And then Thursday night we have an event just for the skiers. They all register. We welcome them, and then really the show starts Friday, and we're gonna have the qualifyings. 10 a.m. the races start. Really, it's like a 10 to 3 is the race time, and that's all the qualifying rounds. And then it'll be open to the public. There'll be some activities going on in the lodge. Obviously, live music every day. The races will be broadcast on all the TVs in the lodge for the folks that don't want to stay outside all day. They can still watch it from inside. We're gonna have some cool stuff happening, some ice bars, and one of the guys who's a friend of mine who does a lot of the best ice sculptures around is gonna be carving live and building an ice sculpture of a skier. So people have to watch that.
Awesome.
Pop-up bar out on the mountain, where the ski area is, and VIP event off-site for some of the folks who are coming. We've got Governor Ayotte as an example coming Saturday, and so we'll have an off-site event for those folks as well, with some of the skiers there, and potentially, and then Sunday, same deal. So races are 10 to 3 every day, and the people who win Saturday don't necessarily win Sunday. Someone might take a fall or just lose by a said 0.003. Well, they might win Sunday. So then the collective best, skiers from Saturday and Sunday, we'll have a presentation of the awards and the winners, and it's pretty cool. Christieri will get up there with some of the World Pro Ski Tour folks, and you'll say a few words, and it's just gonna be a pretty dynamic, happening environment. And one thing we're going to do is we're going to make it kind of Boston style too. It happens to be St. Patty's Day weekend, so there'll be a lot of Jameson, Guinness, and maybe some corned beef cabbage, and a bagpipe is going. So it's going to be it'll be pretty cool.
That
Awesome.
is unbelievable. We are excited to get up there that weekend. Looking forward to see all the great work Tenney has done and be part of an epic weekend. We want to thank both of you for coming on. We hope the listeners join us up there because I can tell you the lodge, the hill, amazing things have happened up there. Come enjoy it with us. Got anything else, Keith?
No, it's one of those things. Just get out there, experience what they're trying to accomplish, and realize you're part of a rebirth. No different than going to Saddleback.
Well, there's some alchemy happening up there. Come see the amazing things that these guys have done, and to have the World Pro Tour there at the same time, it's going to be a party.
Yeah,
Yes,
I
it
think
will
for a
be.
second, another thing we're thinking about is, if the warrant's not up by then, which I'm not sure yet, we're still waiting for some things to show up on site to get them fixed. We're talking about doing like a VIP event, maybe running sleds up to the top of the mountain, maybe getting a cat up there with a cabin in the back to get people and let them still ski down the Hornet, in some sort of, so we're getting creative too. So we're not done thinking yet.
Hey, keep going, Steve. Keep going, Michael.
Best of luck,
You're
guys.
doing great things. We look forward to seeing you up there in 2 weeks.
Awesome. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I told everybody that interview was pretty energized and pretty damn good. What'd you think?
They're on their path, and for if you're into the ski racing thing or want to get into it, that's a great opportunity. Get right up close. I mean, there's very little separating you from the racer as a spectator. And so you can get up close and personal with them. And then as a resort, I mean, you heard it from them, IndyPass. The pass keeps getting better and better for the New England skier.
It excited me, the IndyPass, didn't it?
You already in for next year?
Yeah,
I'm
my IndyPass is already paid for next year. It just came out. It just came out this week,
Yes.
and I just hit click.
And it is one of those things, if you are currently a member, I shouldn't say member, but pass holder, today, the 28th, the day that this comes out, is the last day at the super low rate of $299.
Yeah, it's a good deal. I didn't even know the price because it didn't come up. Because I'm a IndyPass holder since day one, it just came up renew. I honestly didn't know the price. I just hit click, renew, put my credit card in, and it was done. But I'm still the firm believer. I support the Indies first and foremost. Not that I don't ski elsewhere, but it's my priority to keep skiing alive. But so coming up in 2 weekends, the World Pro Ski Tour at Tenney Mountain, Friday through Sunday. That's the 14th through 16th, right?
Correct.
My notes are down, so I wanted to make sure I was correct there.
Exit 26.
Yeah, book a room up there in Plymouth. It's going to be a great show. I can tell you that the concerts, the music, the bar, the restaurant are all rocking now at Tenney Mountain.
Fun town.
Oh,
and they're building that kind of energy as well.
They're building that energy. We can see it happening, but it's going to be exciting. Come join me. Ask around. The Tenney folks know who I am. They'll tell you where to find me, and we'll go make a run at the same time. I'd love to.
Sounds good.
All right. Until
Get
next
up
time.
there.
Yeah, get up there. So that will be it for this episode of the Basecamp podcast. We will see you all in 1 week. Have a great one.
New England Ski Journal's Basecamp is a Siemens Media podcast. Siemens Media. Inspiring, informative, insightful.